them in the ring. Forget about signing. Until I see them in the ring, I don't believe this fight's happening, okay? So I need to see them in the ring. You say October? Goldie, is that what you said?
Yep,
so in October.
Yep.
When I see them in the ring, then I'll believe the fight's happening. When they go back to their corners after they touch gloves and are ready for the bell to ring, then I'm okay, this fight's happening. Until then, I'm not believing it, though. All right, that's number one. Number two, what were the barriers to this fight? There's always the similar political barriers.
Sure.
Different promotional entities, different networks. And, of course, that was one of the problems to make this fight. You had Errol Spence with PBC. Terence Crawford was with ESPN and Top Rank. This fight could have happened a few years ago, though. Terence Crawford was a free agent. He chose to re-sign with Top Rank. Okay, like this was a little bit of, and I go to the controversy. I don't stay away from it. I go to the controversy. Okay, so
we know
Terence Crawford just tried to sue Top Rank for being racist and not properly promoting him.
That's right.
Because they didn't make the Spence fight and all this other stuff. But 3 years ago, you knew all the welterweights were across the street at PBC. You knew Errol Spence existed and this fight was in high demand, and you still chose to re-sign with Top Rank, knowing, because at that point you're not a novice in the business of boxing. When we turn pro, many times we're novices in the business of boxing. We don't quite know how it works. We just know how to fight. At least that was the case for me. I knew how to fight. I didn't understand the business of boxing. But at the point in Terence Crawford's career 3 years ago, he knows how the business of boxing works. So if you really want to make this fight, and if you want to maximize yourself, because you know all the welterweights are at PBC, you would have probably signed with PBC. Now, that's not a defense for PBC or a promo for PBC. I'm just telling you that you need to go, if you want the big fights made, wherever all the big fighters are in your weight class, you need to be at that promotional entity, because that's the biggest hurdle to making fights happen, is networks and promoters, right? So if you go where they all are, you can make the fights. In the past 3 years, Errol Spence has, yes, he's gone into accidents. Yes, he's got the detached retina injury, but he also fought guys like Garcia, like Porter, and all that, and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Crawford just recently fought Porter, but other than that, has been fighting guys that decent, but you know, they have not of the level of Errol Spence, right? Now you're mad that the fight didn't happen. Now you're mad that you want to sue people and blame it on racism. I can't give it to you, my man. You chose. You're a grown man. You chose to resign with Top Rank, and so hopefully we get the fight. Now when are we getting the fight? When he's leaving Top Rank, which is what we always knew had to happen. And it's not a blame on Top Rank per se. This is a business situation. You couldn't get the two promoters to come to mutual terms. You couldn't get the networks to come to mutual terms. You eliminated one of them. One of them had to be eliminated. One of them has been eliminated. And the fight is the closest it's ever been to happening.
Yes. So, and that detached retina is a very serious injury, as you guys both know. Fought Ugas in April, and so seems to be healthy. You know me, Roy. I'm Mr. Happy, eternal optimist. So let's play everything signed, set to go in October. Now break down the fight for us.
Well, we seen a guy once, a heavyweight, sign, do all that, go touch gloves, walk back and get out the ring. So it ain't happening.
We still can't.
I remember that. So I still ain't gonna believe it. Like I said, exactly. I ain't gonna believe it until I see the first punch duck.
Got you.
Or block.
Yes.
Then I'll believe the fight gonna happen.
Okay.
So now, to break the fight down, man, to me, Errol Spence is what you call a pressure cooker. He's gonna come out there on medium, and as the fight go on, he's gonna turn up a little bit hotter, a little bit hotter, a little bit hotter. How does Terence deal with that? Does Terence go out and put water on that fire early and calm it down? Does Terence wait and rise his game with that temperature rise? Or does Terence go out and just try to smother the whole fire? That's where the fight gonna come at. What style of fight does Terence choose to use? Because he got 3 different ways he can deal with it, but we know what Errol is, and we know Errol coming. And Errol is gonna be Errol without a question. How do you deal with that?
So in this case, as Roy breaks it down, we've seen Bivol take Canelo out of being that pressure cooker. Devin Haney took Kambosos. Maybe not as much of an example, but a guy who likes to fight on aggression. Paulie, can this pressure cooker truly be controlled?
Crawford certainly has weapons to control it if need be. My biggest question for Crawford was, when he was a lightweight, he came up all the way to the welterweight division. And he answered a lot of questions for me when he beat Jeff Horn and then when he beat Sean Porter. Not because of particularly those fighters, because he's won at welterweight in other fights, but because of the styles those guys had, physical styles. And sometimes a guy coming up from a different weight class is able to skillfully deal with the bigger fighters, but he's not able to deal with the physicality of the bigger fighters. The way Crawford does the physicality of Horn and Porter shows me that he's grown well into the welterweight division. Of course, having said that, Errol Spence is another animal completely, and he is a physical specimen that not only is naturally a welterweight again, but also has all of the ability to make life hell for you. Crawford does have the weapon, so he can fight out of both stances. He can go to the body, he can go to the head. He disguises all his attacks very, very well. I was talking to Ray Beltran recently. Ray Beltran fought Crawford at lightweight, and he said, man, that guy's unbelievable. He was just full of praise for Crawford. And Beltran's a tough guy. He's fought them all, you know? And he was just like, you know, a couple of rounds I was in there with him, and then he's like, I just couldn't figure out what I was doing. He to quote Ray, he goes, he beat the shit out of me, but you know what? It was great being in the ring with him. I was trying. He goes, I was just amazed while I'm in there. I'm just amazed at what the things this guy can do, you know?
Right.
So, you know, he has there's a lot of deceptions and a lot of layers to the style of Terence Crawford. But still, Errol Spence, while he may not be as creative, is also not just your typical all-out pressure guy. There's a technique to him, and there's a game plan to him too. The range of this fight is very important because Spence, when he's in close range, is going to your body and he's absolutely debilitating you. Can Crawford maintain a certain range, no matter what stance he's out of, and no matter how much deception he's using? Can he get the respect of Spence to where Spence has to second guess himself coming so close? Because Spence is not just going to walk in the front door. You know, he has a good jab, and he knows how to, from the southpaw stance, he knows how to enter the punch zone. He's not just one of these pressure guys that just tries to enter the punch zone for free so you can outbox him. He's not a Camboso, so to speak. He's going to have his own intelligence behind his pressure. It's a very, very intriguing fight, which is why we wanted to see it for such a long time. But to answer your question, yeah, both guys have the ability to execute their game plan. Crawford does as well.
So in Crawford's corner, he knows it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when he is going to have to weather a storm and then maybe another storm and a tornado and a hurricane. And it's how he's going to be able to handle or diffuse those. Would that be accurate, Antonio?
When I look at this fight and I look at both of these fighters, you know, my breakdown is that when I look at Errol Spence, I know what he brings to the table. He's a great fighter. You know, I've seen him do it, you know, over and over again. When I look at Terence Crawford, I look at a fighter that I can truly say can do everything in the ring. He's shown me different, you know, sides to his game, counterpunching, you know, ambidextrous, and I've seen him attack the body. I've seen him box backwards, counterpunch. So I believe Crawford can do everything in the ring. I think Spence is an expert at what he does in the ring, but I just don't think he can do as much as Crawford. And I think just now, I think I got to lean toward Crawford figuring it out. But it's a super fight, nonetheless, with the two best welterweights in the world, and I just can't wait to see it. A real super fight.
You're tuned into the ProMax TV podcast.
Which one of the things he does very well is not just the pressure, but it's an insane body attack. It's an insane body attack, which, if executed correctly in any fight, takes away your best attributes, because the body attack debilitates you. And then no matter what you do well, which is fighting backwards or forwards, fighting lefty or righty, all those things you do so well, when you've been attacked to the body so well, it will break you. And I just can't get out of my mind that Crawford, no matter how much success he's had, is still a natural lightweight. He's still started out at lightweight. So a body attack from such a powerful natural welterweight like Spence will eventually get to you and break you down. So while there's terrific wrinkles to Crawford, I just angle towards that side, because I just feel that what Spence does is going to be very difficult for a natural lightweight, despite all the success he's had at welterweight, to be able to have to overcome. Luckily for me, Errol Spence is not white, or they'd be calling me a racist. You know what I mean?
I'm still calling you a racist.
but
Mikey Garcia came up from lightweight and fought Errol, and he didn't have no problem going 12 rounds with him. So it's not like he a killer puncher. Now, he got killer pressure, but he don't have killer punching power on that one punch power, because he never really even hurt Mike Garcia. He beat him with that pressure, but he never hurt him. So that's why if a guy was bigger and had punching power, that would be a problem for Terence. But Earl is not really your typical one punch guy. He's more that pressure guy. which means that you don't have to worry about the one shot so much. You got to worry about the accumulation. Now, the body attack, I totally agree with because he has a vicious body attack and he sticks with it. He has discipline with it. But as far as being bigger, that really won't make a difference until late in the fight. If that body attack has any effect on you, then that size will also have an effect. But he's not the one punch guy that you think because he's bigger, he's gonna hit him one time and knock him out. That's not him. He don't fight like that. Right. So it's like, I understand what Paulie's saying, but that's why it was always debatable as to me as to who will win, because can he last long enough to start affecting Terence, or will Terence catch him early and mess him up enough that he don't get the chance to get into his lane or into his mode? So that's why I think it's an intriguing fight. It's one that has to happen because both guys have something to prove. You understand me? Absolutely. We want to know, and we ain't seen this since Tarver and Sugar Ray Leonard, who's the best welterweight
in the world,
undefeated welterweight.
But I'm going to add to that here because I've seen quotes of Mikey Garcia. He said he was in pain in that fight, in that Errol Spence fight. So he had to bite down, and you saw Mikey kind of fading in the fight. He went the distance, but he faded in the fight. He had to rely on his toughness to get those 12 rounds. I'm not saying Crawford doesn't have the toughness, but Crawford butters his bread with his skills. Garcia is technical.
Toughness.
Crawford has what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Garcia is just a come forward guy. So there was nothing really. There's no other avenues he has. While Crawford has the other avenues he can play at. But if he's debilitated to the body, can he stay in that kind of fight? Can he, when your stamina is affected, when you're feeling that pain more because now your ability to get away from it because the body shots have broken you down. Now you've got to stay in there longer than you really want to against this heavy puncher. I mean, I was looking at the Ugas fight, man. I was cringing looking at Ugas, man. He was just in so much pain. Forget about the broken orbit, which I can also relate to. You can just see the body shots ripping him apart.
Oh yeah, and if you don't have any wrinkles to your game, like I don't think Ugas had, that's what you're gonna get.
Sure.
But when you have the experience as a Crawford, and Crawford is a leader. Steven Shakur, all these guys look up to Crawford. He's mentored a lot of champions. Mm-hmm. So this ain't just no guy that's just out there. He's a leader of champions. So, he has a responsibility, and he's been like that for a minute. So this is a guy that knows who he is, knows where he's going. I love Crawford, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan, but I love what he does in the ring. So when I look at this fight, it just goes back to I love Errol Spence and what he brings to the table, but I just haven't seen enough dynamics, enough of a lot of things that he just does what he does. Excellent. And if he fight his fight, he can beat anybody. Is Crawford just going to let him fight his fight? You say he's the body. You think Crawford just going to let him dig to his body without throwing something back?
Right.
You feel me? Crawford ain't that type of fighter just going to let somebody dig to his body. No, he going to catch that, rip up, and throw a combination off of it. So these are the wrinkles that I think. And both of these fighters are elevating their competition because I don't think Crawford has ever fought a talent like Spence, and I don't think Spence ever fought a talent like Crawford. So they both going to be a fish out of water. Let's see who can swim.
So things could be going perfectly for Terence Crawford. Round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Roy. One serious attack to the body, everything changes immediately.
No, that's not going to happen like that. When you at that level, one serious body attack ain't going to change nothing. It's going to take accumulation of rounds for that to happen. That's not going to happen no one time, no one round. No. It's going to take round
That's
8,
toughness that
8,
Antonio
9, 10, 11. Then you might start seeing it.
Gotcha.
If you can get it off in those rounds. Like he said, it's not like he going to stand there and let the man punch him in his body like that or not be trying to fight the man's head when he do punch the body. So it's like it's a lot of other wrinkles in there that you got to factor in. Ugas didn't have these wrinkles. This guy does. So it's like I said, for me, I like both fighters. And when I said the same thing he said about Spence, people got mad and said I don't like Spence. It's not that. I just, like he just said, we haven't seen him do as much in a boxing ring as we've seen Terence do. I don't mean that Terence gonna beat him. That don't mean that.
That don't mean at all.
We just haven't seen him do as much as we've seen Terence do. We've seen Terence put in under a lot of different situations, and we see him find ways to manipulate them situations and get out of them clean.
Beautiful. Yep.
We ain't seen Earl necessarily do that except with the pressure.
who's fought the better competition though, especially at welterweight. You know what I mean? But it's easier to show a lot of wrinkles with the lesser level of opposition. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this was the undisputed 140-pound champion was Terence Crawford, so it's not like I'm knocking the competition. He had championships at lightweight and light welterweight as well. But especially at welterweight, who's fought the level of competition? We've seen what Spence can do against the elite of the welterweight division. We've seen what Crawford can do at welterweight as well, but has the level of competition be as elite? And now that he's up against the most elite, can he still show these wrinkles? I mean, listen, bro, I might be a little biased towards Errol because I've seen him since he's turned pro. I've been working his fights. He turned pro, but you flip. This is a real coin flip fight. But I got a soft spot for Errol, man. When I see somebody as a real gunner in there, man. You know what I mean? From the moment he turned pro, this kid impressed me from the moment word go, and like I said, from ringside, from a lot of the fights I've worked of his, it's hard for me to let that go. Maybe that's an emotional part of me, but it's hard to pick against Errol, man. It's hard for me to pick against Errol, despite how good I feel Crawford is and how entertaining I feel Crawford is. I mean, Crawford has knockouts with headshots, with jabs like Kell Brook, with body shots like in the Ndongo fight. This is a very complete fighter, but still, man, what I've seen from Errol, man, I've seen Errol destroy people, man. And he's got that one-punch shot to him. Look at the way he dropped Sean Porter. Sean Porter is one of the best chins in boxing. I mean, he look at that knockdown. I mean, yes, Porter got up and finished the fight. But
in the 11th, though, right?
In the 11th round.
Like I said, that's that pressure.
Yeah.
It's more the pressure than the one punch. That pressure had debilitated him. Then he got him down. But it's that pressure.
And he got an engine, man. Just the fact that he can still be punching that hard in those rounds.
He gets better as the fight goes.
Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, for me, I angle it towards Spence, man. But because, like I said, for all those reasons, it's hard for me to pick against Spence. And not just emotional. Like I said, I give you an emotional perspective because I've seen this kid since he's young. But it's also, when I combine the two stellar athletes, I still pick I edge it towards Spence.
And, this fight is razor close no matter who you like.
Sure.
That's why it's such an anticipated fight. And all the fight fans are on on their seats for it. It's just that close.
Right.
But it's that one fighter that's going to make that investment early in the body. Who's going to consistently do what they do. It's going to be a razor close fight that could end in one sharp punch. So you really never know how it's going to play out. But all we can do is speculate. And when we speculate, I'm going back into what I've seen and what I've come to